Okay, well today what we're going to do is we're going to solve equations using sum and difference formulas. So without further ado, let us go and solve some equations, trigonometric equations I should say. Well, here we go. Here's a common equation or equation you might see. We're going to find all the solutions of the equation in the interval 0 to 2 pi. All right, on my calculator I have type it out, so that's what pi is, if you didn't know. All right, now here we have a addition of two angles, and if you recall from the sum and difference from my previous ones, is we're going to use the sum and difference to simplify these two, okay, because we have alpha and beta. So what we're going to do is we're going to look up here and identify for each one of these what it is. We're going to try to solve this by hand. So sine of x plus pi over 6, well, that is the addition of two different angles. So we're going to look up here and say, okay, sine addition. All right, so we're going to write this as sine of x cosine of pi over 6. And it's going to be plus cosine of x, then sine of pi over 6. Minus, now we're over here and saying sine of x minus pi over 6. Sine of minus two angles is going to be this. So we're going to have sine of x, and that's going to be, oops, probably put parentheses around here because it's minus this difference in angles for sine. And so we have cosine of pi over 6, and that's going to be minus cosine of x, and then this right here is going to be cosine, sine of pi over 6. And that's going to equal 1/2. Okay, we'll see how this goes. From here, we're going to simplify this. Cosine, we have our unit circle, and we should know what this is. If you don't, I like drawing a little if you follow me along and doing this. Cosine of pi over 6. Pi over 6 is a 30-degree angle that comes from one of our special triangles of 1 radical 3 and 2. Cosine is going to be square root of 3 over 2 sine of x plus sine of pi over 6 is going to be 1/2 of cosine of x. Well, minus, we know it's going to be cosine of pi over 6 to the square root of 3 over 2. That's going to be sine of x. And then the minus distributed through, we're going to distribute that through right there and to right there. And so it's going to be plus sine of pi over 6 is going to be 1/2 cosine of x, and that's going to equal 1/2. Now from here, we're going to simplify, and if you see, everything kind of works out. I call these storybook problems, all right? Cinderella and Ariel and all those kind of things, because right here, you notice that square root of 3 over 2 sine of x and negative square root of 3 over 2 sine of x, they cancel out just like a fairy tale, happily ever after. We then have 1/2 of a cosine and 1/2 of a cosine, which actually equals 1 full cosine of x, and that equals 1/2. All right, so we're going to add those together. And so now we have an easy peasy little problem. We're trying to find all the solutions from 0 to 2 pi, my friends. And so what we have is cosine is positive. Once again, I'm going to draw my little triangle here. Maybe I'll change this to blue, just so you can see. Okay. And what we have in our value is cosine is positive here and here. So both in the first and fourth quadrant. We're going to take the inverse. We know what's going to happen here is that we're going to get a value right there, but we also need the value right there. So we're going to find this angle. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Once again, this is one of our special triangles, so x is going to equal what's opposite 30, or square root of 3. That's going to be a 60-degree angle, which we know is going to be pi over 3. Pi over 3. If you go all the way around again, this is also going to be a 30-degree angle. All right, sorry, 60-degree angle, because that's going to be square root of 3. And what we have then here is going to be another one, but that's going to be pi over 3. But in the fourth quadrant, that's going to equal 5. Pi is over 3. 5 pi over 3 in the fourth quadrant. And that, my friends, is our answer. Okay, so going through this, Once again, we are using the sum and difference formulas because we have something that's very complex. We're going to make this into something that's a little bit simpler. So we're going to use these to lengthen it out. It does. It is a storybook problem. Works out just smashingly as we simplify and we get our two responses and answers there. All right. So I'm going to do some more problems in the next video. So good luck and God bless if this helps you out in doing the rest of your homework.